Diane Certa.
And we are here to introduce to you our brainstorm, our next great adventure. It's called The Evolution. It's a show that we're going to do here in the Self-Achievement Network. And it's been long coming because after many years of doing work in the area of personal development, personal growth and development, we're like, we got to come out of the closet, so it's about time. So we, went back and forth with different kinds of names. We had, the name was it was going to be called The Game, and then it was going to be called, what was the other one?
I can't remember.
I can't remember either. But, so anyway, we're here. Today is February 28th, the last day of February in 2021. And so we thought the first episode for the first episode, it would be an introduction, because we have like pieces of paper all over with notes and stuff that we have, like, okay, what are we going to talk about? What's going to be the scope of the show? And so why don't you do a little quick introduction of yourself?
Sure. So I'm 50 years old, turned 50 last summer. So half a century, made it so far. And I work full time. I am a sales director for a company here in the Chicagoland area. We're expanding all over the place, though. It's a large chiropractic organization. So all about health and wellness and helping people discover their potential. And where did we go?
No, you're right here.
Oh,
you're still live. Keep going. I'm going to share this out to a couple of the groups.
And yeah, so I work full time. I'm super busy. And Domenic, as you know, does a lot of interviews, interviewing people through the Self-Achievement Network and Person Behind the Passion. And so a while ago, he said, hey, I want to do something with you live. And so I'm not super experienced at this, a little bit nervous for sure. And I'm going to let you take it over.
Well, we want it to be informal. I mean, this is the whole thing. So let me just go back a little bit in time. Some of you know that we have done this pretty extensive work in the area of self-development. And for not just a couple of years, it's been for many years. Like for me, it's been probably 22, 23 years. Okay. And we were very involved with that type of work, working with people, doing seminars, traveling. And so one of the things that we thought we wanted to do since COVID and all that stuff, and we've got, we can do this stuff online now, and we don't have to travel. What we could do is share some of the experiences that we've had and insights that we've had along the way, including some of the exercises that we've done with people that support them in having major insights in their life. And so, so talk about that, some of the, the things that we, in general.
We've done different programs, certainly. And like Domenic said, for, 15, 20 years, we're really involved in one particular organization and coached a lot of people, learned ourselves how to facilitate some of the seminars and exercises. And that in itself was a great process to go through, because the facilitator, an amazing man, he was adamant that we were not ready to facilitate anything or lead anything unless we were doing it in our lives. And so over this period of 15, 20 years, we worked on ourselves. We, did simple things on a daily basis to grow, keeping our word, really. That's what it all gets back down to, is do what you say you're going to do. And that is a great process to go through. And it started out with really small things like making an agreement to make my bed every day, or making an agreement to floss my teeth every day, which seems like a really small thing. But the agreement was to do it no matter what, right? No matter what. So if I had an agreement to exercise for 20 minutes every day, and it was, 1:30 on a Saturday night after a night of partying with our friends, and I'm in bed and all of a sudden the thought goes off, oh my gosh, I didn't do my exercise today. Well, guess what? It's getting out of bed at 1:30 in the morning and going to do exercise. And so it was a no matter what kind of an agreement, which is fantastic.
Well, I think that's at the extreme. Okay.
Totally.
Exactly. That's way, far over there. And it didn't happen very often because okay, let me just, I want to start with one of my notes here. Right. So I thought about, was thinking I was working in my basement. I'm rehabbing the basement right now. And all of a sudden I have this thought, what is really the bottom line of what we're doing here on the planet? And I had this epiphany, right? And so I grabbed the pencil and I wrote this on the wall downstairs. You're thinking I'm crazy. And I wrote down, the goal is to be the most conscious that I can be, because I am at the leading edge of conscious evolution. And that's really what it boils down to. We are not just individually, but collectively as planetary citizens, we are at the leading edge of evolution, whether people realize that or not. We are. It's just like, how many years did it take the human body to evolve? How many years did it take a flower to evolve? Well, how many years did it take, the cells in the ocean to, evolve into a 2-cell, whatever, right? And so we are at that, at that leading edge of it. Now, are we the pinnacle of evolution? I mean, we should probably consult some of the, animals out there and see, because that's not what we're saying. And I also want to make a distinction. We're not here to teach people anything. We're here to share our experience. So when I wrote this on the wall, I'm realizing, well, that's right. I mean, we're at the leading edge of consciousness. And what does that really boil down to? What is consciousness, right? What does that mean? Awareness. It means that, we have the possibility of evolving. And that's really all that it is. It's a possibility of evolving and taking charge of our life. And it has to do with the awareness that we have in terms of all of our thoughts and everything, right? So we all know that the more control that we have over our self, right, the better, the higher quality our life can have, right? Or, like that. So it's really about that. Now, I'm not like an extremist. I don't, wake up at 1:30 in the morning anymore. I mean, I have done that a few times because I learned, right? So, it's about being in charge. So consciousness is like one of those words, conscious. So like, what would you put it?
Yeah, I think you said awareness, and being aware and then being deliberate in what it is that we're doing. Right. So we're aware of it as we're doing it. We're thinking about it, planned out, going in a direction so that we can have a better experience here on the planet.
Right. And not talk to ourselves when, so let's just say, like I always say, I'm avoiding the R word, the regret word, right? So like when I get to be at that ripe old age of whatever, and if, my body starts to fall apart and I'm not able to do certain things, I won't have to look back and say, I didn't really do it. I mean, I didn't let myself go. I used the time that I had, and I used the knowledge that I had to make myself, as healthy as I could be. Now, do I screw up sometimes? Yeah. I mean,
it's like this.
Yeah. I mean, we do, so we allow ourselves, different types of foods, and we stay pretty strict diet, and we're really good. And the body just is going to do what it's going to do, but we have a lot of control over that. So it's about, that's one example. I wrote down also at one time the game, right? So what game are we playing? To strive towards living and being at the highest, purest, clearest state of conscious manifestation possible, also known as a clear mind, right? And healthy body. Clarity versus clouded. And, it's been interesting for me over the last many years meeting people. And I think that when I began to look at where I was before I got involved with this kind of stuff, I really was clouded. I would say to myself, I was going to do certain things and then I wouldn't do them. And then I would feel guilty. And then I would just kind of put it under the carpet. And then I would, when I began to look back at my life, I could see that I could have made a change then if I would have realized that I was in charge and had a clear vision of where I wanted to go. So that was another thing that I wrote down. So there was some other notes here, and we don't want to make it like this jargony thing. And this is not about spreading love. It's not really, it's not like that. And yeah, I mean, that's part of it. We're going to have conversations about, love and what that really means. What were some of the notes that you wrote the other day? The evolution, like what does evolution mean?
Right. The gradual development of something, or the process of growth and development, is evolution, which is great, right? We all want to grow. We all want to develop. We all have dreams and want to have a fulfilled life, like you said. So then when we get to the end of it, there's not a lot of, oh, I wish I would have. And we're all going to have some of that to an extent. I'd love to own my own jet plane. I don't know that that's ever going to happen.
There's people flying around in jet planes. I mean, that's not like on our priority list,
Yes,
right? So it's really about us wanting to share this information, having the huge desire to share, because we feel, I mean, I'm 62, Diane's 50. And so, I mean, we're at that place where we know that we have valuable information, and holding on to the information is not really what we want to do, because so many more people can benefit, right? So we're going to be sharing insights that we've had, things that we've done. Like, like for a long time, I was writing in journals, exploring who am I, right? And this went on for years. And, writing down insights that I had about myself, things that I said I was going to do and then I didn't do. And, I mean, I really had to work at getting to a place where I not just intellectually knew, but I realized, experientially, that I'm in charge of my life and I can steer that in any direction that I want to at any time. Now, most people that I've met always say, yeah, I'm in charge of my life. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty, they realize that they're really not, right? So for example, I like to use this example. So let's say I was standing on the street corner and, I'm taking a poll, right? And a survey. And I have a clipboard in my hand and somebody walks by, Diane walks by, whatever. And I say, excuse me, sir, excuse me, ma'am, I'm taking a survey and I'd like to know if you would like to participate. And Diane says,
sure.
Okay, so it's just one question in the survey. And the question is, are you in charge of your life? So before you answer, what do you think most people would say? What do you think?
Of course. Yes.
Right. And why?
Because it's my life.
That's right. I'm in charge. I'm in charge of my life.
Right.
I make all my decisions. I know, what I want. I know what I don't want, and all that stuff, right? So then, if we really got down to the nitty gritty, so Diane would answer the question. You would say,
yes.
Okay, right. So everybody. So we used to do these workshops and seminars, and I would ask that question. There'd be 30, 40, 50, 60 people in the crowd, and I would say, okay, so how many of you, by a show of hands, right? So how many of you are in charge of your life? And so then like 95% of the people would raise their hand. And I would say, great. So then I would ask them, so why are you in charge of your life? What makes you make that decision that you're in charge of your life? And people would raise their hands because I do this, I do that, I do that. Right, great. Okay. So those of you who didn't raise your hand, why did you say that? Well, it's because sometimes when I say that I'm going to do something and I don't do it, then I realize that I could have done it, but I didn't do it. And so I felt like I really wasn't in control at that point. So then, like, if we're going to define, for example, what does it mean to be in charge of life? So if somebody said, like you use the example of exercise, and I like to use that because it's common for everybody, right? So I'm going to exercise for an hour a day starting on Monday for 30 days. So if I was in charge of my life, or Diane was in charge of her life, right? What would she in fact do? What would you do?
I would exercise for an hour a day for the next 30 days.
Right. So it's the same thing. So somebody may have a habit, an unhealthy habit, say like, smoking or whatever, right? And they said, well, I'm going to stop smoking on Monday at 8 a.m. for the rest of my life, right? If someone was in charge of their life, what would they in fact do?
they would stop smoking.
That's right. Exactly. So, I mean, if you think about that and think about some of the examples in life where you tell yourself you're going to do something and you don't, it's like a deception. It's a self-deception, but we're not consciously aware of it. And so what we do is we go around all the time saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to stop doing this. And then the consequence of that is that this thing here, most of the time, suffers the consequences of us not being really in charge of our life. And to be in charge takes practice. So this show, The Evolution, is about our journey in learning to be more in charge of our life, because it's about striving towards, right? Being more in charge of our life than not, so that we can have an experience of being here on the planet that is beyond the imagination.
And we're not stuck in our heads talking to ourselves all the time about what we said we were going to do that we're not doing and feeling badly about it. I think that's the ultimate price that people pay, and we don't even know it, that we walk around feeling not good enough. I used to want to be more outgoing, and I used to go to, places, and I would see these people who were really outgoing, and I always thought they had something different than I had. And when I started to work on myself, I just realized that I was very insecure because I didn't keep my word a lot of the time. So I was walking around not feeling okay, just letting myself be who I was, being outgoing, going up to people and saying hello and introducing myself or whatever, because inside I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't feel like, certain people look like they have it all together, and that could either be a facade or maybe they do. But it makes a big difference in your quality of life. So as I started to work on myself and keep my word and start feeling better, I'm a lot more outgoing, a lot more fun, I think, these days than I used to be.
Yeah. When you feel good about yourself, sweetheart, you are a lot more fun. Exactly. I mean, so, we have, a fairly normal lifestyle, where we like to wake up in the morning and exercise. And there's some days where, she's really busy. She's got an early morning meeting and she doesn't exercise. Now, does she crawl under the carpet and suck her thumb and say, oh my God, I can get up and do my, no, is that, she continues to move forward. And I mean, I know this all sounds very simple, right? And when it gets down to it, like putting it all into action, it becomes very complicated. And this thing right here will go off and say, oh, well, it's okay, and then, as you're, expanding and gaining weight and, feeling sick and all this stuff, again, it's really about quality of life and giving ourselves that experience because we can. So it's about us evolving. Now, I know for certain that, not everybody wants to evolve. It's all about the possible evolution or our possible evolution. People are interested in doing that and hearing the experiences, and they can gain some insight into their journey and what they're doing. And we can shed some light on some of the things that we've done, because it was all action based. I mean, there's a certain amount of, concept and theory that this brain has to understand, but putting into practice is really where it all began, and going through all of the different stages of discomfort and what have you. Most people, I don't know. I mean, I don't like to say the most, but because it sounds negative, and I don't like to sound negative. I think that many of the people that I've met, at some level, don't want to evolve. They want to stay comfortable only because they don't know what's on the other side. So once people give themselves the experience of having an elevated experiential understanding of what life could be for them, they begin, oh, wait, wow, I didn't really know. I didn't realize. That's called an insight, right? So
yeah, so some of the things that we're going to do on the show is we may have some exercises for people to do. We'll do them in rooms.
We will have some exercises.
So we'll put them in rooms. Is that how that works?
Well, right now the idea is that, on Facebook, they have the ability for us to go into a room, and then once we go live, it closes it. So anybody that wants to join, and it's like we have hundreds of exercises, experiential exercises that we can share with you that will help you to have insights that'll get you to shift, right? Because, when you think about your life, we walk around with this conversation going on all the time. We always know what we need to start doing, and we always know what we need to stop doing. It's putting that into action, which is the tricky part. So the intent of the show is for us to give everybody an opportunity that wants to have the opportunity, but also for us to renew the information, right? Because it's easy to forget. This game of working on ourselves is tricky. It can be tricky. And you know how it is when, you want to change a habit, and because of whatever reason it is, whether it's a health reason or it's a relationship or money, or there's many different things, and then you don't follow through, there's consequences to that, right? And so it's about, like what I like to say is like creating a new normal. So, there were several months ago, I was not waking up in the morning and doing a routine of exercise. And now I have. So it's been since like the middle of November,
yeah.
November, December, January, February. So yeah, for 3 months. So I feel like I'm back on that wagon where I now have a new normal, where I know and I trust myself that I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to go do my exercise. And I love doing it. So it's my new normal. So it's like things like that where, you may struggle with a certain area of your life, and, you want to shift it. So we will share exercises so that, people can join in, and they can get insights, and they can up the quality of their life. So yeah,
that's it. And the whole point is to be real throughout the entire process. So it's not about doing it a right way or looking perfect or some sort of thing like that. It's just about being real.
Yeah.
Because we're all having an experience, and it's not good or bad. There's consequences to the choices that we make. And that's it. Are we making the choices that lead us to become more of who we ideally want to be?
And we're not coming from this place of authority that we know. We're not like spiritual guides and all this stuff. No, I mean, I've called myself a life guide, but that's really what it is. It's a guide. Somebody wants to walk down the street, right? And I coached a lot of people. Have we coached a lot of people?
A lot of people. And I still
this
do.
This girl here
coached
thousands of people, right? And, and it's from a place of experiential understanding, and so
acceptance.
Totally,
it's a huge part of it.
People are where they're at, and so coaching someone, they say they want to go in this direction, and here's the road, and we see them veering off because we were on the road. We're on the road, right? And we were on that same road back there, where however you want to put it. It's not like people are anybody's better. It's the same kind of thing. We see people veering off. It's to guide people, keep them going in the direction that they want to go in. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we're about time.
We're
about time.
Yeah. Here's the number right here. I'll been on for 23 minutes and 50 seconds.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, share this with the people that, you think may be interested in doing this. Or joining in. We will share a link next time so that you can put your name up on the screen, and then so every week we've got
every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Yeah, unless my heart stops beating.
Hopefully not for a long time.
Your heart stops beating. Yeah, right. So we've been making a list. So we keep our notepad next to us. In our offices, and then next to the couch.
Table.
Yeah. So, whenever, and we've got so language is one of them. And that's great because language is really important, right? There's powerful words, there's victim words, as this is an example, right? So, we go around saying certain things that come out of our mouth that are in our head, and then we don't know that we're actually sabotaging ourselves, right? Like maybe. It's one of my favorite like words. Maybe. He's like, well, maybe we should do this. And I'm like, maybe.
He does
I
that.
like that word. I want to know, are we going to do it or not? Right. So just we have a good time with that. Feedback. One of the most amazing things that there is on the planet is feedback. I mean, how much feedback do you get in normal life from people? In my opinion, experience, not very much. So share a little bit
About getting feedback?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think it's going to be the topic of one of our discussions in the future. So we'll talk a lot more about it. And feedback is really valuable depending on how you take the feedback. So, if you get feedback and there's resistance, that's not really going to do anything for anybody. And so, the big thing with feedback, and I've gotten tons of feedback. You've gotten way more feedback than I ever did, really.
Probably needed it, yeah.
And
I needed it a lot more.
It's, taking it in, looking at whether, it's really valuable feedback or not, and what to do with it, and then move forward. So yeah, we'll talk a whole session. I've got lots of stories that we can share on feedback.
There's no scarcity of stories and like that. I mean, the
Yeah.
feedback, what I know now about feedback is like, so as I was getting feedback from my mentor or mentors, okay, they were seeing things that I couldn't see.
Right.
And I would think that I was doing things like, straight up or whatever, right on the money. And then no, it's kind of like, in the physical world, like construction, right? So if somebody's sawing a piece of wood, right, and then this comes out crooked, and then the foreman says, the way that you were doing that is like you were holding your hand was like this, and no wonder it's crooked, right? So the person that cut the piece of wood can either say, or they can say, oh, okay, thank you.
I'll
right?
change it.
Yeah, right. So that's really what it's about. And so feedback becomes a really powerful tool. And if you don't have someone that can give you that kind of feedback, then you get stuck there.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are some of the topics that we're going to be talking about. There's a long list. So we hope that you will join us, and we'll be here next Sunday, 10 a.m. And we will talk to you all soon. So from all of us here in the Self-Achievement Network, remember to have fun and
stay inspired.
Stay inspired. That's really it. Okay.